welcome to ET Now Startup Central, India's first and only daily show dedicated to startups and entrepreneurship. I'm Chandra Shrikant, joining you live from India's startup capital, Bengaluru. And Krishna, what a day it's been. On the one hand, Infosys is talking about laying off a section of employees for underperformance. On the other hand, Flipkart chairman Sachin Bansal says he's been kicked up from CEO to chairman because of underperformance.
That's right, Chandra. This is Krishna Kumar coming to you live from 18 Hours Mumbai Studios. First up, Chandra, let's do a check on all the headlines we're tracking over here. Hyperloop could soon be a reality, and India has the potential to become one of the first countries to have Hyperloop. That's the word coming in from Hyperloop's COO, Bibop. The transportation technology startup believes that Hyperloop will be cheaper than high-speed rail. Smaller cities have to deal with the problem of visibility and exposure. That's the word from Abhishek Sanghvi of Swan Angel Network. Speaking exclusively to 18 Hours, Sanghvi also emphasized that it was mentorship more than funding that startups in Tier 2 cities needed. And we also get you some reactions from some millennials on what they think of the e-commerce battle that is taking the rounds in India, and also what they have the hots for: Snapdeal, Flipkart or Amazon. Meanwhile, Flipkart-owned fashion portal Myntra has crossed the $1 billion run rate in annualized GMV post-discounts in July 2016.
Krishna, before everything else on the show, we are going to go across to IIM Indore, because guess what? We have been tracking the i5 Summit, or rather our colleague Rahul Daima has. It's an annual entrepreneurship summit that's put together by the students of IIT and IIM Indore. Has more than 100 startups under one roof, a lot of influential speakers from India and abroad, and Rahul really spent the weekend tracking that entire summit. I'm sure this is one working weekend that he's not going to regret. But Rahul, take us through the highlights of IIM Indore, you know, everything about the mood, the trends that really played out there.
It's the second edition of the i5 Summit here at IIM Indore, and the focus has really been to really revive the ecosystem that exists in Indore on the campus. A lot of student entrepreneurs got to pitch to investors in various competitions and actually get funded. Over 1.45 crore in funding was secured by various startups as part of competitions. Also, the interesting element was the international touch with Hyperloop Transportation Technologies COO Bibop here on campus. That really got a lot of students excited. Remember, Hyperloop Transportation Technologies is envisaged on the idea of Elon Musk's Hyperloop that intends to get people get people across various cities as fast as they can. It's a new form of transportation technology that they've been working on. So that is really also a lot of investors on the campus from Orias Venture Partners, AHA Ventures, Investors Capital, a lot of angel investors also on the campus interacting with students. From sessions on how should they pitch to investors, where's ecommerce heading, advice to students on what sort of presentations they should be making. It couldn't have got better for students into their second summit and also end up getting a funding. We get to all the action from the two-day extravaganza on 18 Hours Startup Central.
All right, Chandra, time now for our big headline of the day. Hyperloop could soon be a reality, and India has the potential to become one of the first countries to have Hyperloop. That's the word coming in from Hyperloop's Chief Operating Officer, Bibop Gresta. The transportation technology startup believes that Hyperloop will be cheaper than high-speed rail in the country. Take a look.
You have to consider that the Hyperloop is not a new idea. Humanity tried to build this system several times in the past. In 1870, the first idea was conceived below New York, and it was the initial phase of the New York Underground.
True.
And there was an evacuated pneumatic train with all the characteristics. But at that time, the car industry was against it because they thought it was a threat.
Sure.
And in 1904, Robert Goddard, the father of the rocket science, tried to do the same by patenting a solution, and has been stopped again because the scientists thought that human being cannot go faster than 100 miles per hour. So there was always a reason why a project like this has been stopped. But humanity always dreamed to travel on tubes, right? Because it seems more logical. We are the biggest effort that humanity has ever done to solve one of the biggest problems of humanity using the best people. And that's what we are doing.
What really brings you to India apart from the summit? Have you also been, meeting railway government officials in a way, or would you explore meetings in the coming days, so to say?
Well, I met Modi in San Francisco a while ago when he came in the visit, and we've had a very pleasant exchange of opinion about what is needed. I think India has the real potentiality to become one of the first nations to have an Hyperloop, because there's a combination of factors. The first one is that there's a high density and there's a lack of infrastructure. And the model of the Hyperloop is also fascinating because it's so efficient, and we're not only fast, we're also very, very efficient on how we produce an energy and how we also create it in a sustainable way. Because we are using completely renewable energy, we can produce 30%, up to 30% more electricity than we consume, and we do it respecting the environment. And India has a very big problem on infrastructure. While coming here, I was seeing a disaster. I mean, the road is completely broken, and there's too much trucks on the road, and we need to fix it because it's starting to affect our life in a very bad way. So fixing traffic is the first step to also redesign completely our cities and how we build cities and how we live. Because if we can come closer together faster, you can actually improve our life.
But bullet trains, I'm sure you're aware, have faced a lot of flank here in India because of the costs involved. So do you think Hyperloop will have that appetite considering the costs that are really involved in this?
Absolutely. That's one of the amazing characteristics that we have, is that we are 6 times cheaper than an high-speed rail. And this is also one characteristic, because the other one is that to maintain the system, it's really almost close to 10%. So the reality of the fact is that it's not only how much you spend in building infrastructure, but it's how much you spend to maintain it. High-speed rail is really energy inefficient. It uses too much energy. Imagine that you have to build a big track with electricity all over it, and you have to bring it to superconductivity. Not one system in the planet is profitable. Not one rail, not one high-speed rail, not one underground. It costs too much.
That's right.
So the issue is not only building cheaper, but also building in a way that is sustainable and can generate money.
In a long haul, that is.
Hyperloop doesn't need subsidies from the state, and it's actually a profitable business.
Interesting. So, so you will look at bringing it here in India. What timeline are we talking about? Also because, it's in the concept stage in America as well. So what timeline as far as India?
Well, it's not a concept stage. We are actually building it, because we are building the first prototype that is a full-scale Hyperloop. In the same time, we signed deals with several nations. We signed with Slovakia. We are now going to announce another big deal that we signed. And the Hyperloop concept depends a lot on how fast the politics and regulation wants to adopt it. We are ready. We're ready to build it at a cheaper cost, and more efficiently. Now the government has to do its part. And we will be meeting several of your representatives in this trip. We'll see. I mean, I think the population needs to ask for an Hyperloop.
What are your plans as far as startups are concerned in terms of tech transfer and talent transfer? What are your plans?
So that's a very key point for us, because our model allowed to hire, quotes, people and companies that wants to join the team and work to change the planet. And that's our main proposition. We have offered stocks in exchange of work, so you can still work in your company. We ask a minimum of 10 hours a week in exchange of stock option. And we are searching all kind of help. Right now we have 600 of the best people from several industries. I'm talking about engineering, designers, architects, computer designer and software developers. I know India has plenty of these resources and has amazing talents here. And that's one of the reasons why I came here. I'm also scouting for companies that can actually join our team and help us bring Hyperloop to India. I think it's very supportive. It's actually created a competition to allow us to select the best engineers, and he pay for it. It's called the SpaceX competition. Right now Elon has bigger problem. He has to deliver the Model 3, and he's consolidating his assets. So I think he will continue to support us as a cheerleader of our project. But he's a brilliant and genius person.
Two or three things that you have learned from him and feel entrepreneurs here in India. We are the third largest bustling startup ecosystem in the world. So 2 or 3 things that you feel that entrepreneurs can learn from him.
Well, dream big and never give up, and always think about humanity. You always have to think about big projects. I think, it's good to think about the next Facebook for cats or Uber for plants, right? But in reality, what I invite the people that are actually right now in the startup ecosystem, start to focus on the most important things of this planet. Energy, housing, food. This is where we need the majority of the solutions, and we have the technology to solve these problems.
Interesting tips coming there on, the lessons really from Elon Musk, because remember Hyperloop, the company itself was founded on an idea based on what Elon Musk used to say about, Hyperloop transportation a few years back, and that's inspired a couple of startups to follow suit, Hyperloop Technologies being one of them, which we got you on the show today. But moving on from that, another interesting voice coming in from Indore. We are talking of Abhishek Sanghvi of Swan Angel Network, a very active angel networking platform as far as central India is concerned. He really talks about the concerns for startups coming out of smaller cities, how it's really not about funding but mentorship that these startups sometimes lack.
Indore has always had a lot of entrepreneurial activity, right? If you look at Indore as a region, it's always been the center of trading activity across central India. Even in terms of technology, very few people know the fact that in Indore we would have close to about 300, 400 odd companies employing anywhere between 50 to 100 people each. So you have a large technology talent pool, 15, 20,000 people working here. The challenge with Indore perhaps has been the fact that even though there have been startups over the last 3, 4 years, 5 years that have come up, the exposure level of these startups has been limited, again, limited by the geography that they've been operating in. And that's been one of the reasons why we haven't seen a lot of big success stories come out of Indore yet. But we formed Swan Angel Network last year. It's been about 9-10 months now. And the purpose was to bring that level of exposure, mentoring, senior people around, get them together and start mentoring these startups which have so much potential.
What are the learnings that you've had here at Indore that you feel can be replicated across other cities?
Well, I think, again, existence of a group of people who come from that type of professional background, who have had exposure of working with large companies outside, who have been successful entrepreneurs themselves, if they are working in a city to create a good ecosystem, right? Every city, every tier 2 city in India can start producing success stories. The latent demand is there. There are both. There are people who are willing to invest, and there are good startups forming as well. The challenge has always been that middle platform where both of these can come together, and the startups can get the right type of mentoring and guidance.
So would you agree that it's not really so much about funding, but mentoring that is really crucial and important for startups, say in Indore and across smaller cities?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think funding. See, money will always follow opportunity, right? So I don't think there has ever been a dearth of funding. The challenge has been on the mentoring side, and the challenge has also been from a startup standpoint, that acceptance in a startup that I need mentoring. Because especially when you have got young kids starting up their companies, they always have this feeling that they can go and win the world without any prior experience or without any help. But those who are smart in terms of accepting help, getting that type of guidance and mentoring, then can quickly build an organization which can secure funding very easily.
All right, Chandra, it's time now on the show to get some reactions from some millennials on what they think of the e-commerce battle, or rather war, I must say, that is doing the rounds here in the Indian market. Rahul Dayama did catch up with quite a few of them at IIM Indore's sprawling campus, and he also asked them what they have the hots for in terms of which portal that they prefer shopping from, either Snapdeal, Flipkart or Amazon. Take a look at what they had to say.
Whenever I want to go for service, I would go for Amazon. Usually is my favorite site, and whenever if I want the best deals, I would usually go to Snapdeal. So those two are the ones. And as far as promotions go, the discounts matter a lot to me. Cashbacks not that much. I mean, I don't see, because anyway again I'll have to shop, so I don't want to do that. I prefer credits and debit cards because it's already paid. I don't have to go through the hassle of going through it. I don't usually use payment wallets or anything, e-wallets. That's because my money is stuck there, limited usage of it. Cash is again a hassle because I have to be there to collect it. So that's why I always prefer debit and credit cards.
In experience of shopping, I personally shop a lot of apparel online, so I really like Myntra. I find very womanly in the first place, so how the website looks matters a lot to me. Okay, that's why I find Amazon a little unappealing. And discounts matter a lot to me, but not so much as cashbacks, because again I'm forced to go and shop on that website, which I don't really look forward to. I haven't really caught on to the wallet wave, but then credit and debit card. It's usually credit and debit cards because it's a lot of hassle when it comes to cash, because I'll have to get that exact change and meet with that person. It's just easier, that person comes, delivers, I just take it. So debit card and credit cards are the way to go.
There's not a particular website that I prefer. I always check all the rates in all the websites. So Amazon is it's worldwide, and so Amazon is, I think, leading.
As far as cashbacks and coupons are concerned,
actually, it's many a time it has happened that I've ordered something from Amazon and then I've returned it. So I've got a proper cashback or some coupons in my Amazon account. So the service is nice. The after sales service is very nice.
Right now, Paytm is very focused on customer experience. I've shopped a few items on Paytm also before. So is Amazon, basically. But it's a very close call. You just can't zero in on something, even for Flipkart, basically. So I think it's mostly the cash is going to play a role in the longer run. And it's not going to be customers who decide. It's going to be the investors who decide who's going to win in the long run.
A lot of interesting stuff there, Krishna, particularly the fact that people prefer debit and credit cards to wallets and payment gateways. I wonder what a Paytm or a Freecharge or a MobiKwik is going to make of
Chandra,
that.
Just to interject on that point, I always thought net banking was a better option, in terms of security, in terms of how quick it is.
Oh, totally. I use net banking. Moving on then to our next story, Krishna, where I caught up with Myntra's founder, Myntra's CEO, Anant Narayanan. Now, they clocked an important milestone today where they crossed the $1 billion mark in annualized GMV. This is post-discount for the month of July 2016. I asked him if, they can really sustain the momentum, sustain the pace. He seems confident on that front and is also confident of clocking that $1 billion GMV mark by the end of the year. Let's listen into what Anant Narayanan had to say.
The selection is there, the service is there, the engagement is there. Second is we're also heading into a festive season, which historically for Myntra, the second half of the year has always been better than the first half of the year. So both those, focusing on consumer experience, so all the customers we acquired during URS, making sure that we actually continue to serve them well, and the festive season and making the festive season go well, are the reasons I'm confident we'll get to $1 billion.
Right. But, getting to $1 billion by the end of the year is what you said earlier also. With Jabong also in your bag, aren't you confident that, that might happen even sooner? Or?
We're not counting Jabong in these numbers. Okay. So we're only counting Myntra in these numbers. I don't think it'll happen sooner. I think it'll happen to the plan that we originally forecast. So we're actually excited about it. The other thing just to remember is, I think, it's a 70% year-on-year growth that we're actually looking at. That's what we had all through the first 4 months of this financial year, which is very healthy, right, in this market.
And even in terms of profitability, again, the integration of Jabong, won't that be a dampener going forward? You're still saying early next year you're confident of touching profitability, or is that only Myntra?
I think that's still only Myntra. I think the integration of Jabong, we're not really integrating, as I keep telling you. I think we're going to run them independently. The back end, we will have synergies around logistics, around a few other areas. That will continue to get. But for now, the numbers that I'm talking about are Myntra numbers. I think the way Jabong will help is probably get us faster to the top line, and by the way, across both platforms, we will get more full price sale.
Right. In terms of the categories that are really going to drive this, will it still be the premium fashion category, or any other extensions that you're seeing that's really getting you traction at this point?
So look, the core categories that we have continue to be the strong ones for us, which is sports, men's, women's. However, we've added a bunch of new categories that we're very excited about, and they're growing well. Home, which is an extension of fashion lifestyle, is actually doing well. Like personal care is also a new category we've started. Very early days, but starting to pick up momentum. And jewelry, if we can solve some of the supply chain and security issues in delivering more expensive jewelry.
This would be artificial?
No, this is real jewelry. Okay. So not costume, but real jewelry, fine jewelry as they call it, with gold. So if we start doing that again, we've partnered up with Tanishq, which is going well, Tanishq and Mia. I think we need to figure out a way to scale it.
And lastly, private brands vis-a-vis the brand partners on your platform. Private brands, I understand, would have higher margins.
Yes.
In terms of the breakup, can you tell me where you want to see this, say, 6 months from now, 1 year?
Sure. So today it's about 20% of our sales. We want it to be no more than 30%. By the way, even in our private brands, private labels, we separate the two out. 3 brands, Roadster, HRX, All About You, are brands that we want to build as national brands and scale.
All right, Chandra, good news from a startup, that too an e-commerce startup amidst the slew or the sea of bad news that they've been surrounded with of late. And good, you're catching up with the CEO himself. And with that, we've completed run out of time here on this edition of ET Now Startup Central. Thank you so much for watching. But don't go anywhere. Keep it with ET Now.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.